Hi, I'm David Hart. Welcome to Zola Levitt Presents.
And I'm Kirsten Hart. I've got to be honest, I'm a little sad. This is the last program in our new series, Close Encounters with Yeshua. But today is the most powerful encounter I have ever heard.
That's right. You cannot miss today's program. Please stay with us.
Wasn't long ago our first encounter on the waters of the Galilee.
My hand is completely restored.
He said, your faith has saved you.
I've heard Yeshua speak in our synagogue.
Talked about the kingdom of God. And then he showed us his wounds on his hands and feet.
I believe he really is a king.
Yeshua, return unto
Shalom, Chavarim. Welcome, friends, to our program. I'm Miles Weiss.
And I'm Catherine Weiss, and we have a very special program today. It is Close Encounters with Yeshua, and we're talking about modern-day miracles. You know, the Bible talks about Yeshua being the same yesterday, today, and forever. Just as he was able to remove our sins, he's able to give us his healing.
Yeah, it's a controversial issue today about healing, but we're looking towards the healer primarily. And this is a special, dear to our hearts program because of our dear friends Gary and Cindy Beyer in Israel. These are lovers of Israel. They reside there. They have been there for many years, and they actually bring people to Israel to help them connect their creativity to the land. They have a Writers Gathering Jerusalem program where they actually bring in and help writers and creative types to interact with Israel so that it influences the creative work that they're doing, whether it's novels or poetry or movie making, script writing, and it's just an incredible creative atmosphere that's around them. Well, part of that story includes the fact that Gary got ill. And what happened to him in this time was so miraculous to see the growth of faith in him and Cindy and the community around them and how it touched our lives. And we know he's a dear friend of our producer, Ken Berg, Ken's prays from every day. And we were able to stand with them during this really difficult time. It was momentous to be with them.
You know, one of my favorite scriptures is Psalm 103. It says, not to forget all of the Lord's benefits. He forgives all of our sins and heals all of our diseases. So we're to press in for what God has for us. You know, sadly to say, not always have I seen my friends touched or healed like I'd like, but we still are called to ask, seek, and knock. And God, it's God's sovereignty that will open or close that door. And I'm so grateful that he has opened that door of healing for Gary.
Yeah, there's been a sustaining that goes beyond natural remission. There's something supernatural that took place, that is taking place in Gary's life. And we know that eventually we all die, whether we go by rapture, we go by natural death, we go from disease or accident. We have a short time here on this earth. But it's something to see an interaction between someone that you love and the God that they love. And boy, did we see that with Gary and Cindy, the way that they pressed in prayer, they pressed in to receive healing for this illness. And it was very convicting on a certain level because we hadn't seen such faith like that since we traveled in the nations, since we were in Africa and India and Russia and around the world. And it was just a wonderful time to be with them and to hear their story. So we wanted to bring part of that story to you today because we want you to be encouraged in your faith. We want you to be encouraged in the things that you're reaching for. So let's go to the beginning of my interview with Gary Beyer. Gary, thank you for being with us today. I would love you to tell our viewers a little bit about the journey you've been on. I know it's been a difficult season. Many people have been praying for you, including Catherine and myself. Give us a little idea of the diagnosis and the season that you've been in.
First, thanks for praying for me.
Yes.
We underestimate the value of the prayers of the saints. They really lift you, especially in dark times. You feel that. 2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And by the time they found it, it had created a tumor outside the prostate. And so for 3 months, they said you were not a candidate for surgery. You were too far along. So for 3 months, they radiated me. They fried me up all through the middle. And actually, at the end of those 3 months, things looked pretty good, although some of the lymph nodes had been fried out. but within a couple of months it reflared, and it reflared into my lymphatic system and started going everywhere. They found it up here, and thus began a season of chemotherapy, of serious chemotherapy, which I, quite frankly, I didn't want to do. I even told my wife, I said, I just can't. It's like poison going in me. And so we really were praying about it. And I told my doctor, I said, you know, we believe in a God of miracles. My doctor is a wonderful Aussie, Jewish, Israeli, secular doctor. And he was watching our journey. And but I said, you know, we believe in a God of miracles. We'll get back to you about this. And by day 3, I really felt the Lord say, I want you to take this step. Wow. Which sort of surprised me, because I said, well, but you know this is like dumping poison in me. And he said, will you let me choose how I want to heal you?
Wow.
And I thought, well, I like that. At least I heard heal in that sentence. But I'm a visual guy, and I told the Lord, I said, I need some visual image. And he said, I'll give you an image. He said, when you go into what we affectionately called the chemo lounge, because there are lots of lazy boy chairs, about 40 people in there getting their drips. And he said, when they hook you up to that drip line, that's my blood coming through that line to you. Wow. And that just so flipped our way of looking at it upside down, and it actually made the chemo day the best day of the week.
Amazing.
I mean, when people said, how's it going? I said, well, it's actually the joy day. I know that sounds really strange, but we watched God just do amazing things during that time.
So what you first thought of as poison became an avenue for life, for resurrection life.
It really did. It really did.
And then there's a story you've told me about a visitation.
Yeah.
And I approach this with sacred caution, but I would like you to tell our viewers what happened to you in the CT scan.
Well, there came a point in this journey about now 4 months ago, and the cancer had metastasized. It had jumped to my liver, and I was in a lot of pain. I started breathing with difficulty and a little disoriented. My wife got me into the emergency room here in Jerusalem at Shar Tzedek Hospital. My wonderful doctor met me there, and within a very short time they took pictures, and the next morning he came to my bedside, and he grabbed a hold of my hand and my wife's hand, and he leaned in close, and he said, you better gather your children. And that kind of rocks you. And he said, the CT scan shows that 3/4 of your liver, 75%, is just riddled with cancer. And one of the tumors is about the size of a golf ball. It's now shut your right kidney down. And your whole middle is full of black spots, full of cancer spots. And he said, we're gonna sort of do major chemo on you, just full blast, and we'll do it for 3 days in a row, and then take 3 weeks off, another 3 days in a row, another 3 weeks off, another 3 days in a row. So he was blasting me as hard as he could, and he was giving me his very best. It was a surprise when he grabbed my hand and my wife's hand, and he leaned in real close, and he said, would you pray for us? And I'm thinking, what a privilege to pray for my doctor. But the battle began, and it was a really rough 3 months, up and down and up and down. And at the end of those 3 months, he said, we'll give you 2 weeks of rest, and then we're going to do pictures again. Another CT PET scan this time, which is like a deep tissue scan that they can see very clearly within you. And so the day arrived for the scan, and it was hitting 100 degrees in Jerusalem, and I had a windbreaker on, and we were sitting in the waiting room getting ready to have the scan, and I was so cold that my wife was like wrapping herself around me to keep me warm. And a little Russian tech guy came out, and he said, we're going to put you in the isolation room, and you drink a liquid. And then we take pictures. I said, okay. And my wife said, he's really cold. Can you have a blanket? The guy gets me a blanket, wraps me up, and then in a little bit he says, okay, go into the room. And I kind of moved in along like like a little Indian tent moving into the room. I sat in there. They bring me this big jug of liquid. It's a clear liquid. And he says, you drink every 10 minutes, full glass. And so I'm sitting there. And thankfully, I had my phone, and my wife had her phone, and she's just been a wonderful champion to me in this journey, along with the prayers of the saints. And she started texting me saying, remember all the words that the Lord has given you, that he's your healer. And she happened to be sitting in front of a picture. The 23rd Psalm had become very special to us. You know, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will be with you. And so she texted me all of a sudden a picture, and it was right in front of her. And it was the 23rd of August that we were having this done. And she said, look at this picture. And it was right in front, it was like a picture of the 23rd Psalm. She said, it was beautiful, you know, green valley, stream. She said, remember what the Lord has told you.
We're beginning to build the story here with Gary, and his connection with his wife in this is so precious and profound. You know, I think about, as you're watching this, try to remember that these are very grounded people. These are very practical, earthy, down to the point kind of people. They're not wild or speculative about Christianity, about their faith at all. And so it becomes even more profound as you see this connection between them, the spiritual connection between them.
I love Gary's fight for his life, and you hear God's heart, you know, with reaching out to his wife Cindy and her texting to remind him about Psalm 23. Though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we will fear no evil because the Lord is with us. No matter what we're facing, he wants to be with us. He wants to bring that provision. And it says that healing is the children's bread. So he wants to sustain us. He wants to give us hope and faith to see that which we can't see in the natural realm.
That's good. And so we want this show to be an encouragement for all of us to reach for more of God. And you're going to see as we go on how what comes into view for Gary is not only the healing he's reaching for, but the healer. So we'll be back after this with more interview with Gary Beyer.
Our resource this week, the series Close Encounters with Yeshua on DVD.
This 10-program series focuses on how Jesus, Yeshua, supernaturally came, ministered on earth, and today calls people to draw near to him.
Each program includes location teaching from Israel, a dramatic reenactment, plus interviews with believers about their journey of faith in the Jewish Messiah.
Contact us for the DVD series, Close Encounters with Yeshua.
Shalom, friends. Miles and I are so grateful to be able to bring you timely messages that are informative about what is happening in Israel, not only what's happening in the nation, but what's happening with the people of God, the people of the book. You know, now more than ever, we need to invest in things that matter. We need to invest in things that will last for eternity, and we believe that messages like this will go before us as we sow into them. So please stand with us as we continue this journey of faith. Thank you.
If you're thinking about visiting the Holy Land, come on a Zola tour, where the scriptures come to life as you get teaching from a messianic perspective. Our spring tour goes to Israel and Petra. In the fall, you can add a cruise of Greece and Ephesus. Come to Israel. See the Jewish roots of your faith. Call us at 1-800-WONDERS or click on the levitt.com/tour info.
You know, Gary and Cindy have chosen to live in Israel, and they have wedded themselves to the land and to the people. They love my Jewish people. I'm so grateful to them for that.
And the Arab people.
And the Arab people as well. And they are just lovers of people. And what we're seeing in this story is not just the reach for the healing, but the encounter that's growing where Gary's faith for his own healing is part of it, but his awareness of the presence of God is going to grow and grow. So let's continue with our interview with Gary Beyer.
And so I started trying to encourage myself, encourage my spirit. And then some Canadian friends that had been praying for us since I first got the diagnosis found out it was in isolation. They were in Jerusalem. They're texting me, remember Jehoshaphat, the mighty armies coming against him. And Jehoshaphat was told by the Lord, this is not your battle. It's mine. You just stand. I was so weak. I thought, well, I don't know if I can stand, but I can sit. And so I was sitting there, and then they texted and said, I just see the host of heaven around you. And so I'm looking around, and then I hear over the intercom the little Russian text guy, you drink the juice. I say, I'm drinking the juice. And then they said, texted me again. They said, I just see the Lord standing right to your right. I look up, and nothing but a gray wall, gray ceiling. But I started thinking, you said you'll never leave me. You never forsake me. So I know you're here. And I said, you have a word for me. And I felt the Lord say, yes, you hold on to me. Don't hold on to medicine. And when I heard that, the way I interpreted that in my mind, because this was a moment of truth, these pictures were, medically speaking, these pictures were going to show me whether I'm better or I'm not. And when the Lord said, you hold on to me and not medicine, the way I interpreted was, be prepared. What you're going to see is not good, but you hold on to me. And so then the little tech guy says, you go to the toilet. So I get up, I go to the toilet, I come back, I drink some more. And then he says, you go to the door. So I make my way to the door with my little blanket. The door opens, and there's this big room where they have this scanner in there, and it's cold. I mean, you could cure meat in there. And the tech guy says, take your clothes off. And I thought, jeez, I'm freezing already. So I strip down. He puts me on this little bed-like, and the scanner's a big round, looks like a donut, big round thing with a hole, and the bed moves in and out of the donut. And he said, don't move. Put your arms up here, and I put stuff in your arm and make you warm. And I thought, well, that'll be good. I could use a little warmth. And then he says, you'll be in here 18 minutes. I said, okay. And he starts to leave the room, and he says, would you like the blanket? I said, that'd be a real good idea. So he puts the blanket over me, and he says, good luck. And he leaves the room. Door closes, and the big donut starts to spin around. Just starts spinning, and I feel the bed start to move, and I'm thinking, okay, Lord, I'm in your hands. My times are in your hands, and you said, hold on to me. So into the donut I went, out of the donut I came, went back into the hole again, and suddenly, to my right, I see an angel. I've never seen an angel before. And I'm thinking, I'm looking, and I'm thinking, I've been on drugs for 2 years, so maybe I'm just still hallucinating, But it doesn't go away. And it's like this brilliant, brilliant white. And I couldn't see the face very clearly, but just glowing white. And then I sensed all of a sudden another angel on my left. I couldn't really see this one. This one I could very clearly see. And I don't know if you've been a Boy Scout or something like that, and you learn what they call a fireman's carry, where they lock their arms underneath the victim and they pick the victim up. I felt they slid their arms under me and just gonna pick me up. And then this one leaned over me, and he started blowing over my middle, like, and it's like you could see their breath almost just moving over me. And then in their breath, I started to see what looked like flakes, like snowflakes, only they were gold. These flakes were just like pure gold flakes, just starting to fly around over me. And then they lifted me and they moved me forward, like I'm now looking at me as they're holding me. And I could see these flakes just flurrying around me and over me and through me. And then I remembered that picture, because I kept thinking, what are these gold flakes for? And at the same time, I keep blinking, thinking, am I just wanting to see this? Is it going to go away? But it doesn't go away. And I remembered the picture from before, like 9 weeks before, where I saw all of these black spots in me. And I thought maybe these gold flakes are like hitting these spots and like, taking them out. And so I tried to superimpose that picture over what I was seeing. And I could see those gold flakes flying in, around, through me, and by these black spots. And then suddenly I looked up, and there, in vivid color, is the Lord. And he's like there's a white mist around him, and he's sitting, but he's leaning towards me, and he exudes power and strength. His hair is like dark, and his face is strong and like sunburn almost. And he's got a blue like robe on, deep blue, trimmed in crimson, and everything exudes strength and power. And he leans toward me, and he stretches out his arm, and his arm is dark and strong, and his hand is strong. His hand's like so strong and just reaching straight toward my middle. And I looked down to where he's pointing, and I couldn't see anything except like golden light. All I could see was golden light. And then I looked up at the Lord, and he's gone. Just everything's gone. No angels, no Lord. And the donut just starts slowing down. And I hear the little Russian tech guy go, "It's finished, you finished." And he pulls me out of the hole of the scanner, and he says, "Get dressed." I got dressed. He unhooked me. I went out, and I sat with my wife, and I said, "I think I've seen a vision. I've seen the Lord." But it was so far out of my box, I've never seen anything like that. So we went up to the doctor's office, and I couldn't share this with the doctor. But I kept thinking, and it seemed like it took forever for the doctor to read my pictures, because it goes up at the computer, and he's looking, and the little secretary said, "He's studying your pictures." And then I started remembering what the Lord said about, "You hang on to me. Don't hang on to medicine." And eventually the doctor came out, and he said, "Come into my office." We sit down. He just got back from vacation. He's sort of chatting, and I'm thinking, just tell me what you see. Because I was preparing myself thinking, what am I going to tell my kids? How am I going to... And suddenly he leaned forward, and he said, "I've been studying your pictures." He said, "You know where you were 3 months ago? You were on the edge." I said, "Yeah, I know." And he said, 75% of your liver was not working. And he said, today, 75% of your liver is working. This is a dramatic improvement. Like, he just kept saying, dramatic improvement. And then he showed me on the screen, he says, "The lump you had here? It shrunk by half. All the cancer in your middle behind your belly is shrunk dramatically." That's the encounter.
And here you are. I don't think I've ever meant it more deeply to say thank you for being with us.
You're just very welcome. Thanks for letting me share my story. Thanks for just letting me share a glimpse. He's real. He is so real. Thanks, Miles. Thank you.
Thank you.
Honestly, that was the most amazing encounter with Yeshua I have ever heard in my life.
Yes.
What Gary shared changed our lives and our view of what's to come. The interview with Gary was filmed this past November. I don't even know how to say this. Just a few weeks ago, January 6, 2017, Gary passed into heaven. He walked into the arms of that strong Yeshua.
I'm so thankful for songs that help all of us deal with things like we just saw. This song is a musical tribute to Gary's family that I have the privilege of singing right now for you. Shalom.
Though we've had our sorrows, they can never compare. What Jesus has in store for us, no language can share. If you could see me now, I'm walking streets of gold. If you could see me now, I'm standing tall and whole. If you could see me now, you know I've seen his face. If you could see me now, you'd know the pain's erased. If you could see me now, I'm walking streets of gold. If you could see me now, I'm standing tall and I'm whole. If you could see me now, you know I've seen his face. If you could see me now, you'd know the pain's erased. You wouldn't want me to ever leave this perfect place. You could only see me now. You could see me now. You could see me now.
The best close encounter ever.
That's right. I hope that you've had a close encounter in this series, and if you haven't, our prayer today is that even right now, as you hear us speak, that today would be that day. Thank you for joining us today. Shah Alu Shalom Yerushalayim.
Pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Our monthly newsletter, The Levitt Letter, is free and full of insightful articles and news commentary from a messianic perspective. Visit levitt.com to find our newsletter, along with current and past programs, our television schedule, and much more. Don't forget to order this week's resource by calling 1-800-WONDERS, or you can purchase it from our store at levitt.com. Your donations to Zola Levitt Ministries help these organizations bless Israel. Please remember we depend on tax-deductible donations from viewers like you.
This has been a paid program brought to you by Zola Levitt Ministries.